So this is just to introduce an important concept, which is that so far we've been assuming that their income realizations are independent. The insurance came from the fact that, when I get a 2,000, it has, you are just as likely to get 1,000 as 2,000. Now, there is of course no reason why they would be perfectly independent. If we live in the same village, we are two farmers in the same village, you can think of many reasons why our incomes won't be independent. What are those reasons? Give me some examples. Yeah, that of course. If there was an earthquake, probably everybody in the village will be affected. What else? Yeah.
Weather or prices of goods.
Yeah, weather might be correlated. Probably is correlated within the village. All of us. If the rainfall is bad, it's probably bad for all of us. If potatoes are this year aren't selling, and we all grow potatoes, that's bad for all of us. Yeah.
There's like a disease that wipes out their crop.
Exactly. A disease, and diseases are often infectious. Yeah.
If one sells potatoes and the other sells tomatoes, then if the guy that sells tomatoes doesn't do well, then he wouldn't be able to buy the potatoes from you.
That's an interesting one. So there's some internal market forces. It's an interesting idea that my income depends on the other guy's income. Yeah. All of those are sources of correlation. Though that one, it depends on whether you think that the market in the village is closed or not. You might say that I sell potatoes outside, but it's an interesting idea. Yeah, so a factory near the village could close, and all of you or everybody who works there might lose his job. All of those things could be correlated. So one idea we want to therefore keep in mind is this idea of an aggregate shock. And I'll formalize that in a minute. But just the idea, you can get the intuition. The intuition is that there are things that affect all of us in the same direction, and there are things that are sort of affect me but not someone else and more independent. Is that clear what the conceptual point is? Okay. So let's start by thinking about the independent case. Because the independent case is kind of highlighted in insurance. So the simplest and most easy to analyze case is where they're independent and identically distributed. So everybody is exactly the same ex ante, but I get a different independent realization than Ashish. So we both get draws from the same distribution. In that case, and let's say there's hundreds, n people in the network. So not just one, there are n people, each of whom is sort of has exactly the same draw, and we decide between us that we'll all share our incomes. Best case scenario. Independent, we share our incomes. Then each of us will get the average income. Yeah? And we know that the law of large numbers helps us here. The law of large numbers says this object varies a lot less than y. And in particular, the extent to which it varies less than y is given by the square root of n. So as n goes to 100, it's going to vary a tenth of y. So enormous collapsing of risk basically happens if we have enough people. So if there's 100 people in a village and we pooled our incomes and they all came from the same distribution and they were independently distributed, we would get, the net variation will be a tenth of the original variation. So that's a huge reduction in risk we could get. And with 1,000 people, we would get, whatever the square root of 1,000 is. What's the something like 30. So we'll get a 1/30th of the risk. So you start to get very, very large gains as the numbers get big. And in the limit, as n goes to infinity, this goes to the mean.